All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have each of you joining us from around the world. This is Arash Aghajani. I'm a Microsoft MVP and community leader. Today, we have a special guest, Jake Harvey from Avanade. He's a Power Platform lead, and we have an exciting session with uh, Jake today. Let me first of all introduce a little about our community, the Microsoft Learn community. In Microsoft Learn, in addition to information and educational content, there are also a great tech community. The Microsoft Learn community is a platform where learners can network with experts, access update and discussion via the Learn Hub, and enhance skills through interactive learning rooms in a diverse and inclusive settings. Power Platform Learner to Leader is one of Microsoft learning rooms, which has more than 2,000 members. We are sharing the latest information about the Power Platform in our learning room, and also conduct this series of sessions for Power Platform enthusiasts. So if you are not a member of our tech community, join from the link below. I'm going to share the link here. It's aka.ms/join_PPLTL. Also, if you would like to join to other Microsoft Learning Room, so please bookmark the aka.ms/learning rooms, and you can see so many learning room in the Microsoft tech community around the cloud technology, AI, data, Power Platform, and everything. And you can join easily to this type of a learning room. Uh, so there is a code of conduct here for our today's session. Microsoft is dedicated to empowering every person all around the world by sharing knowledge, events, and more. This includes Power Platform Learner to Leader events and training sessions where we seek to provide a respectful, friendly, professional experience for everyone, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, physical appearance, disability, age, race, or religion. So we empower people worldwide by sharing knowledge, and events like the Power Platform Learner to Leader community. We respect everyone, diversity, and dignity, and expect the same from you. Please follow these standards and help us create a safe and welcoming space. So before we begin, a few important notes here. One is, if you have any question during the presentation, please feel free to type them in a chat box. We will have a dedicated Q&A session toward at the end. And this session is also being recorded for those who couldn't join us live, and will be available shortly in Power Platform Learner to Leader YouTube channel. So that's it on my side at my end, and without any delay, I'm going to hand it over to you. And Jake Harvey, hello.
Hi Rush, how you doing? You okay?
Good. It's evening, right, in the London?
Yeah, it's just after
Yeah.
5 p.m. Just after 5 p.m.
Okay. Good to see you again here in
Yeah.
our community. And you can start your slides by introducing yourself, and yeah, moving forward.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Hi everyone. Thank you for taking time on your Saturday to be here to listen to myself talking about everything around AI prompts and the Power Platform. I do appreciate you attending, and hopefully there's a lot that you learn on today's session. As Arash said, I lead Power Platform for Advania UK, and we've got a great team that are delivering everything app modernization, process automation, and governance and maker enablement for our clients. I'm a certified Power Platform solution architect and a speaker within the community, most recently at the Canadian Power Platform Summit and the European Power Platform Conference, speaking on all things governance and AI in the Power Platform. A bit about me, big Aston Villa fan. Looking forward to the Champions League for the first time next season, and also big into my golf and into Star Wars. So those things will feature through these slides and through the demonstrations that I'll take you through today. So let's get into AI prompts in the Power Platform. So as we all know, AI is absolutely everywhere. It's being sprinkled into every technology that we use, devices that we use, and conversations that we have with our colleagues. And in a space where we're makers within the Power Platform, it's great that whether you're a citizen developer or a professional developer, that there's becoming this landscape of AI capabilities that you can utilize to enhance the performance of your application for your end users. And it's not that long ago that this was very different. I think we're used to in our personal lives for a couple of years now of ChatGPT being available or GPT technologies being available, but actually in our professional workplace, this was actually quite complicated for an everyday Power Platform user to access some of these capabilities without having a bit more technical knowledge than a citizen developer. So this time last year, this is a slide taken from the European Power Platform conference in Dublin in 2023. The only way in the Power Platform really that we could access generative AI capabilities was through Azure OpenAI. We'd create an Azure OpenAI instance, select the model that we wanted to use, and then either through a custom Power Platform connector or HTTP request, or later in 2023 through some native integration into Azure OpenAI, did we have the ability to use generative AI across Power Apps or Power Automate. So for anyone who hasn't yet delved into what AI prompts are, they sit within AI Builder, and it's our way of getting away from this more technical approach to having a no-code approach to accessing generative AI and having the ability to prompt a GPT model. So what are AI prompts? So essentially, AI prompts do enable us to give the ability across our apps and our workflows a predefined, repeatable prompt structure that allows information or inputs to be passed into that prompt and generate an AI response that you're looking for. And what's great about it, it sits within the Power Platform, is native to each of the different app types and services that we're going to use. And whether we're creating a Power App or we're creating a flow in Power Automate, or we're looking to extend Copilot for M365, AI prompts can be utilized across the entirety of the Power Platform to make our processes more intelligent, enable us to better analyze information, and enable even citizen developers to get access to generative AI capabilities. So the different types of AI prompts that we get within the Power Platform. So how you get to this section is within AI Builder, within the AI Hub of Power Apps. If you click into AI prompts, you get two different types of AI prompts that you can have access to. So on the right-hand side, we get given some templates from Microsoft that I'll go into in a bit more detail in a moment, where really they give us some inspiration and some guidance on how we can structure a prompt and the types of use cases that we might use this capability for. And then we have custom prompts where we just get a complete blank canvas, and that will be the demonstrations that I'll take you through today, just a completely bespoke use case that's a bit more from a personal life use case, and I'll take you through how a custom prompt can be built and how you can utilize that custom prompt in Power Apps and in Copilot Studio. So first of all, if we look at the template, so hopefully as you're reading through the purposes of these templates, the ability to summarize text, extract information, classify information, analyze data, or generate a response, the templates that Microsoft give us here virtually cover pretty much every reason that we tend to use generative AI, where we're asking for a long piece of text to summarize something for an email, if we're providing text into public chat GPT at the moment to extract specific information. If we think of a business process where we want to classify information potentially with certain sensitivity classifications or compare it to a framework, we've got all of these different capabilities out of the box as templates that we can lean on to really accelerate that development journey. And then the custom side to this, so I guess let's term this as let's get creative, right? It's a complete blank canvas of how can we apply a prompt structure to a piece of data and essentially get an output that enables us to succeed in the process that we're completing. So we'll go into this in a bit more detail now in a demonstration. Firstly, before we get into the demos, there is some inconsistencies often with Microsoft technology where is really the fun part of figuring it out, and that is where there's different naming conventions, unfortunately, for AI prompts dependent on the technology that you're using them in. So Microsoft haven't made it easy, but hopefully I can clear that up as we go through the demos of where that same AI prompts capability sits in the different technologies. And I'm sure as AI prompts gets more mature, and the development teams at Microsoft continue to come together on this piece of functionality, that terminology will become more consistent and it will become more intuitive to us as the enthusiasts within the Power Platform trying to build things. So this is the naming conventions that we get across the Power Platform in the Maker experience. So when using AI prompts within Cloudflows, they appear as an action called GPT actions. And essentially, within your flow, you will create a GPT action, and from a drop-down menu, have the ability to select a AI prompt that you have within your prompt library. Within Copilot Studio, we have what's called AI plugins, and even appears as in certain parts of Copilot Studio as AI prompts by AI Builder. So yet another naming convention that we have to try and get to grips with. And then within Canvas apps, we have what's called connections into AI models, where essentially just like any data source, you can connect into an AI model, send data to that as a data source, and the AI prompt will retrieve a generative answer for you and send that back to your app. So in today's session, we're going to go through the Copilot Studio example and the Canvas app example and bring these to life of how AI prompts enable us to really, I guess, delve into some of this AI capability that Microsoft are providing. So I guess it's a bit of a line in the ground, really, where now as people with Power Platform skills and interest in the Power Platform, because Microsoft have released the ability to utilize the buzzword of Copilot within our apps, within our flows, within Copilot Studio, it makes us all Copilot experts by default. So as it says, everybody go and update your LinkedIn profile at the end of this session, because if you're a developer within the Power Platform, you are now an expert. So just before we go into the demos, a really important slide, and this isn't just for building solutions. I think this is just for using generative AI in any scenario, is how can we actually build an effective prompt? And this becomes really useful when using AI prompts to make sure that you've covered all bases within what you're going to put into that prompt as a framework for your information. So first, we want to set out what's the goal that we're really trying to achieve here. What do we want out of the prompt and out of generative AI? For example, give me information about a specific incident. So you may create a solution where you integrate with a service desk application, and the prompt capability there is that you give it a ticket number, but the framework that you put around that ticket number in your AI prompt is that you want information about an incident. That's the purpose of that process. You then want to apply the context. Why are you using AI at all? And giving it the reason for a report that I want to submit to my manager enables the AI to retrieve the information and structure that in a way that is suitable, really, as the AI understands is for a manager to receive. Then set some expectations. So what's the format in which you want the information to be presented back? Is it in a list? Is it a short summary? Is there a character limit? And this will really start to narrow down the freedom, I guess, that AI has in the response that it provides. And then what is the source of information? Is it a specific internal data set that we're connecting it to? Is it a specific document that we want to provide the information from? Is it an integration? And even mentioning that integration and the specific system you're interacting with in your prompt will make that whole experience more powerful and get better results from your side as a developer or as a user as that prompt in the future. So going into the first demo, so the context of this is I'm not a very good golfer. So I play most weekends, but just don't improve. And I wanted to see if I could create an AI prompt where it would essentially tell me how to play a certain golf hole and make par. So you can read in the prompt here. My goal is to extract the key shots I should make from the provided hole description to understand the most efficient way I can make par. I'd like the response to be delivered in a simple 4-shot list, giving me the yardage I should hit on each shot to score. My expectation is to see a realistic breakdown of the target hole given the difficulties provided by the hole description. And this is where we start to create a framework, right? Because at every hole that you would play on an 18-hole golf course, the hole description is going to be completely different. So this is where we create an input in the AI prompt interface of the information that we're going to pass into that framework, in this case, a hole description. And we give the input some sample data too, which is a basic hole description that's just been taken from a random golf website, just to give it an idea of the type of information that it is going to receive. It mentions things like it's a 400-yard hole, that it's a par 4, that there's tough parts of the hole. And then in the AI prompt, there's some other settings that we configure. We can choose which AI model we want to use. In this case, I've just left it as the default of GPT 3.5. If you do want to try the features of GPT-4, which is in preview, we have found through testing that it is more powerful. So then going into the Copilot Studio interface, so I'm imagining this as an app I can just lean on when I'm on the golf course. I can pull out a chatbot and I can just describe the hole that I'm about to play. So on the left-hand side of the Copilot Studio interface, where I mentioned with the naming conventions earlier, I select AI plugins underneath the Extend Microsoft Copilot banner, and I select the AI prompt that I've created. So the integration's there between the Power Platform. I then prompt my Copilot Studio bot to say, help me make par on the golf hole. So this is going to trigger now, and automatically, just while that's going on, I'm going to a golf website now. This is the golf course that I play on a weekly basis. And luckily, they give you the pros tip of how you essentially play a certain golf hole. So I'm just going to copy the pros tip out of the website, and you'll see that Copilot Studio is clever enough to ask me the question of what is the description of the hole you'd like to analyze. I add a little bit of information in addition to the description that it gives me, just to say that the hole is 350 yards, just so that AI understands the distance of the hole that I'm playing. And then you can see in a moment when it loads, always delayed on the demo. The AI builder and the AI prompt has gone away, queried against the GPT model, and it comes back with a great 4-shot breakdown of exactly how I should play this hole. It tells me on the fairway, based on the description, I should aim down the left side and how far away from the pin I will leave myself. It tells me about the second shot, the perfect distance to leave myself from the green. But what's great in the putting part here is it actually tells me to avoid putting downhill, which with anyone who has played golf knows that putting downhill is much harder than putting uphill. So it's actually using the broader large language model here to actually give me some real good golf advice. What you'll see going through the rest of the demo here is utilizing Copilot Studio integrated with AI prompts really starts to create a very intelligent bot that you can use for lots of different use cases. One of the great ones here is there's nothing predefined in this entire Copilot Studio solution. There's no triggers. The only thing that is at play is the enablement of, and I'll talk about this in a bit more detail, is dynamic training. Anyone who's trying to create a Copilot Studio bot and hasn't yet looked at dynamic training, go away and look at it, because it removes that need for creating upfront topics. Copilot Studio would become clever enough to understand which actions to use based on what you prompt it with. And that paired then with AI prompts and that framework around the prompt that you're providing really starts to build, from a bot experience perspective, something very, very powerful. So just to focus in on this specific piece of functionality, because it does work very well with AI prompts. So dynamic chaining, generating responses using AI. So essentially creating generative answers by letting AI find and connect the appropriate plugins in real time. So really starting to build intelligent bots. There's no hard-coded trigger words. You can describe the reason to trigger in natural language around your action. So you don't have to try and think of every keyword that someone might potentially come up with, which, you know, historically with Power Virtual Agents was always quite difficult, and it often led people down the wrong track. And then you just let Copilot go off and do the rest, and it will pick that best action or plugin for the specific scenario that it thinks that that you're trying to utilize the bot for. So that's just the first scenario. So really just they're just trying to demonstrate some features that are quite similar to, I guess, if you use private chat GPT, but having that ability to pass information into a predefined framework that will give you consistent results. And there's lots of different business processes that we can think of that. You know, if you think around submitting timesheets, if you think about submitting expenses, there's great ways of how you can create an AI prompt to give that framework of the specific information that you'd be requesting from a business user, and make sure that that information gets passed into AI in exactly the right format every single time, and then push back into your business process to submit into whatever business system it needs to go into. So really powerful. And just to touch on the capabilities, I guess, around Copilot Studio there, and you know, really how advanced and how mature some of this is getting. It wasn't that long ago, as we've said, you know, where everything was topic triggered. It was less than 18 months ago that we were in that place where everything you created in Power Virtual Agents had to be triggered from a topic and a keyword. And we were very limited really in the integrations that we had. So then we got the ability through Power Virtual Agents to start to have knowledge bases where we could connect to public websites, or we could connect to Azure OpenAI, or just to general internet via Bing search, and also had the ability to upload documents. But now we can really start to build really powerful custom copilots that connect to the 1400 Power Platform connectors that are available to us, connect into AI Builder for prompts that we're discussing today, connect to different AI services or skills through the bot framework. So we're in a place now where we can actually offer our clients and our businesses really, really powerful solutions. So the next demo that we're going to look at is slightly different and a bit more in the context of a maker trying to build an application here. So it's still, unfortunately for people who aren't golf fans, in the context of a golfing scenario, but hopefully brings to life a few different capabilities through AI prompts that are all pulled together to really build a powerful app. So the purpose of this is, my goal is to extract the golf hole and score from a paragraph of text. So the thought behind this is, from a potentially an accessibility point of view, filling in a paper scorecard or an app scorecard at the end of a golf round isn't accessible to absolutely anybody. So could you provide a completely unstructured paragraph of text where somebody describes the hole that they played, the number of that hole, and what they scored? That could be through typing that out as a paragraph, or that could be through transcription and submitting that story through voice. So the paragraph of text will provide an unstructured bit of text, but will contain references to holes and to scores. Provide the extracted information in HTML code as a table, where column 1 will be labeled as hole, and column 2 will be labeled as score. Column 3 will be labeled as sentiment. So what I want to understand here is, first of all, can we extract information and then put it into a format that really displays on each hole what did somebody score? But to try and get a bit more deep into the performance of a golfer here, could we pull out the sentiment from a golfing story to understand, did potentially their mood on that hole impact their score? So if you think of this from maybe a commentary perspective, or from an article perspective, there's a lot of power here of what this could create. So just like before, it's the same AI prompt and interface. I've created that structured prompt, and all I'm going to pass into it as an input is a golf hole and score. So what I've done here is create a simple Canvas app for any user interface lovers. I haven't spent too much time on the interface, so please forgive me, very much focusing on functionality here. But on the left-hand side, you'll see, as mentioned earlier, a custom prompt has been added into the Canvas app. Under data sources, add data, and you go into AI models, and you get access to everything then within the AI Builder, AI Hub area of Power Platform. And then on the right-hand side of the Canvas app, on the there's two boxes at the moment. The left-hand box contains a ChatGPT generated golf story where it's essentially a guy called Adam talking about his day on the golf course. You can see it says, as the morning sun cast along shadows, the fairways, Adam stepped onto the first tee, his heart pounding with anticipation. With his first crisp swing, he sent the ball soaring down the fairway. So it's along those lines of Adam telling the story of exactly how his golf hole went. And you can see he mentions what the par of the holes were and what he scored on those holes. So what we're hoping to do is extract from completely unstructured text there the holes, the scores, and then the sentiment of Adam as he's playing that golf course. On the right hand side, what I want it to do is generate then HTML, which will then spit out a table. So just like a kind of scorecard table that essentially would present a golfer's information. So if we skip ahead and click the analyze score button. So this is now sending that story to the AI prompt. You can see, first of all, it's created a table that for anyone who can read their HTML, you can see that the scores being extracted as a column for hole, a column for score, a column for sentiment, and then to put into each of those rows, we've got the score, the par, and the sentiment all pulled out there. And on the right hand side, it has generated HTML where you can see actually from what is interesting to see is from the whole perspective, you can see that the data set is somewhat incomplete because it's missing certain numbers in the sequence. So I guess this comes back to the wider conversation around generative AI of generative AI can only be as powerful as the data in which is it interacted with. So, but it's done its best. It's read the story and it has pulled out some of the bits of information that we were looking for. And you can see it's also pulled out the sentiment on each of those holes and what the player scored. And if we just skip ahead and we look at the story, you see from the sentiment perspective, it's actually quite accurate as well. So the first couple of holes, it mentions that the sentiment was positive, but then things became a little bit more challenging. And you can see throughout the story here, it says Adam started to encounter some obstacles, and a tough double bogey on the seventh hole threatened to derail his progress, but he rebounded admirably and scored a 2 on the eighth, where it's pulling that sentiment out then as resilient. So leaning into some of those earlier capabilities that I mentioned of why you would use generative AI and use AI prompts and some of those templates that are there for us at the outset, this is a great example how it's leaning onto sentiment analysis that I guess historically would have been in cognitive services, but is now all thrown into the AI offering that we have available to us within AI prompts and really starts to enable us to build a powerful solution. So this opens up some opportunities, especially from a Power App Maker perspective. So the obvious one being that ability to push and pull data, and as that data is being processed, pushing that data through an AI prompt to analyze it as needed. So a sentiment analysis for customer complaints could be a great example, or just the ability to extract keywords from a Canvas app when submitting into a data source if you need the ability to submit metadata into SharePoint, for example. But also the ability to present data through no code, right? So really utilizing AI prompts to actually make that experience for some of our completely no code makers even better. Is there a way that they could bring data into their applications in the format that they wish to receive it rather than having to understand Power FX to bring that to life? Could it do potentially 50% of the coding for them and they just maybe have to do some of the styling? And then finally, that accessibility point. So many business processes require us to fill in forms, fill in spreadsheets, fill in informations in different business systems that are really important to the success of our businesses. Is there a way that we could make the submission of that information through AI prompts a lot more accessible for different work styles around our organization? So a couple of things to note. Obviously, all technologies come with certain things that are useful to point out and certain drawbacks. And this is a great one actually, and good that Microsoft are doing this across the way that you utilize AI prompts and GPT in general within Power Automate. So in Power Automate, if you add a GPT action and utilize an AI prompt through your Power Automate flow, what it will ask you to do, and at the moment it is a warning, but it did previously actually block you from saving the flow, is that it will ask you to put an approval step in that process so that a human can first check what a GPT model has actually generated. So at the moment, you're not blocked, but it's good guidance, really. So if you are trying to summarize and then publish information potentially onto something like Viva Engage, or you're trying to get AI to automatically summarize something and email it to a client, it will ask you to put this approval step where potentially you put in your automation that you get sent an email first and just click an approve button yourself that you do want the workflow to progress and send that email on. But yeah, a good way to warn you that you are at risk of GPT generating something that maybe you didn't want it to generate. The second point to raise in here is actually around the cost, and I think this is always one of the biggest conversations that you have when it comes to low code, no code, and providing that convenience to users. Is, does the cost weigh up to the capabilities? And I guess the straight answer to it is that AI prompts are more expensive than just building a custom connection, completely custom connection into Azure OpenAI. Obviously the drawback of doing the Azure OpenAI route is the kind of technology becomes separate to the solution that you're building. The setup is somewhat then delegated to a separate team potentially, and the potential for different developer types to lean onto this capability narrows slightly because the capabilities aren't native to your makers within the Power Platform. It's not just capabilities they can just go ahead and start to build with. So it does limit across the different developer types within your organization who may be able to actually gain benefits from this sort of functionality. So I guess across clients at the moment, we're seeing some clients completely just look at the Azure OpenAI route for the moment and only enable their professional developers to kind of gain the benefits from it. Other clients are completely jumping in the deep end and really allowing their business users to, just like the rest of the Power Platform, really become makers and be part of that maker community. So I guess in conclusion on this slide, it's be careful working at scale, and to bring this to life a little bit as this is a client example that we're working on as a team at the moment. So this is around governance, risk, and compliance, and I hope this is a use case. I know I've had a couple related to golf up to now, but this is something that a lot of people will have experienced of governance, risk, and compliance controls that every organization, especially organizations at an enterprise level, have in place and are core to the success of how they operate and ensuring that they stay compliant and stay within the guidelines that they work in. So this is with a big financial services company, and they use a system called Metric Stream to essentially store everything related to GRC. So if we take a risk, for example, they have a spreadsheet at the moment of 2,000 risks, and in one column and a column of 2,000 controls. So for every risk, they have to have a control in place that meets a predefined framework that I guess their GRC team internally have deemed the correct framework for describing a control to a risk. So in the old world, it would take this organization 3 months to manually go through, as a kind of part of someone's role, to go through 2,000 rows and against the GRC framework, manually analyze the success of that control against the risk. So by creating a Power Platform solution to attempt to automate this, we can extract that specific GRC information from Metric Stream, and at the moment, just store that information in an Excel spreadsheet in exactly the same format that they do at the moment, because we were just trying to recreate the the way in which the information's housed. But obviously, this could go into Dataverse, it could go into SharePoint. There's lots of better places we could be storing that. We then connect that spreadsheet to Copilot Studio and utilize Copilot Studio, as was presented in the demonstration earlier, to utilize AI prompts and recreate that risk framework within AI prompts. So every section of their risk framework, there's things like who's responsible for this risk, when is this risk most likely to happen, why is this risk so important to the organization. It gives certain risk scores in comparison to other risks that they've identified within their GRC framework. So having that framework in place enables us to run, when at the click of a button, the whole process in 2 hours, and I guess reduces that 3 months time down to 2 hours, and enables someone in the risk team to just go and click that button whenever they risk, whenever either the framework changes or whenever control descriptions have changed. So to point out, every single time that runs, it costs £200. But there's two different ways of looking at that. I guess for someone to spend 3 months on that, how much is that costing? Could their focus be on better things and more important things to the organization? Also, just the speed in which it's running. What is it worth to the organization to only be able to analyze their risk controls every 3 months? Does the ability for them to just do it whenever they wish, do it daily if they wish, do it weekly if they wish, does that give them enough value that they now have a much more powerful GRC framework, that at £200 a month, it means that they're not going to be landed with a massive regulation bill or an issue get raised internally because they had a very good control in place that met their framework? So hopefully this brings to life kind of a real day-to-day professional scenario where we're really seeing this as such a powerful asset as a Power Platform team, and in this as a repeatable solution across our clients. We know there's going to be so many more organizations that will want to hear about this and see this demonstration. So coming to the end of the session, so I guess in conclusion, AI prompts are that low code way now for us to integrate with GPT and give access to the business in a very secure way, access to generative AI. It's really amazing that this is now part of the Power Platform and can be part of our Copilot solutions, and that us as no code developers can utilize this to really start making powerful solutions. I think the cost way up is all about convenience and power. Does the, I guess, complete power of a custom large language model outweigh the need for the convenience, and therefore you would build something completely from scratch in Azure? Or does that convenience and that trade-off, for it's not going to be perfect, but it is probably much quicker, and we can really start to tweak through AI prompts how we're throwing information at AI, that it will do enough and still become a really powerful asset for us. So yeah, great bit of functionality that we're definitely seeing more and more appetite from clients and our internal stakeholders as well, and really a gift as Power Platform enthusiasts that we now have this at our fingertips to build fantastic solutions. Just some final slide, just some additional information. So I did write a blog that's been published just on the SharePoint Europe website, where you can go and read essentially very similar to the demonstration and the talk today, but just taking you through the step-by-step of exactly where you click in Power Platform, where you go in AI Builder to find an AI prompt, and some considerations around licensing. And then just details around my LinkedIn profile. My inbox is always open. If anyone wants to ping a message or a question on AI prompts, more than happy to receive that. But yeah, thank you, and yeah, happy to take any questions.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a great session. So I got more from your presentation. So it was interesting that you. I saw that it was the mainstream. What was the client name? The
So Metric Stream's
Metric Streams, right?
it's a non Microsoft system, just a completely third party tool. So I guess via Power Automate, just having that ability to integrate directly into it. It has an API. We can extract whatever information we want out of it. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you reduce, the analyze time from the 3 months to 2 hours, right? Per person.
Yeah, per run, every single run of that process to do. So to start at the top of the spreadsheet and go down 2,000 rows, did take 3
Mhm.
months. Now it takes 2 hours. So
It
quite,
was
yeah, quite
amazing.
powerful, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So I'm not seeing any question here. So it's some thank you message for your session. So Ahmed said that is it Power Pages or Power BI? It was the Power. It was a Canvas app and also the Copilot
Copilot,
Studio.
Copilot Studio. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, I guess through Power Automate, you'd have access to the same capabilities through Power Pages. If you were gonna trigger Power Automate based on changes in Dataverse, technically you could get the same capabilities.
Mhm.
Through Power BI, more slightly more difficult, but yeah, we're seeing more and more use cases all the time where through Power BI people are embedding now elements of the rest of the Power
Yeah.
Platform. So yeah, by all means, people get creative with it. I'm sure there's ways to do it.
Yeah. We have the Copilot and AI prompts in all the products in the Power Platform ecosystem currently. Yeah.
Yeah, that rollout of Copilot now across the Power Platform is amazing. From whether it's the maker experience to that kind of more streamlining parts of a solution experience, it's it's great.
Mhm. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jake, and to joining us today. So, and everyone that attended to the today's session. So, hopefully, see you again in our uh, future events and session, and also our attendees in the next week, Saturday. So, have a great day and enjoy your time.
Thank you,
See you.
Rush. See you
Thank
soon,
you.
and thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.